Hello and welcome to Breakfast Central on a Tuesday morning, and we are back on the air. Thank you so much for taking time out to always join us whenever you wake up in the morning, get it ready and set to start your day. And guess what? We are here to start the day with you as well. My name is Joe Hansen. Good morning to you, Benga Aborowa, looking all purplish. If there's any English
today
like
is my royal day. I decided to come out looking purple, and I was hoping to match with Olive because we have this matching thing going on. You know, great minds think.
So what happened today that you guys did not match?
Wore purple, so we are aligned.
Hello. You people were shaking your hands last week.
If I was in politics,
you were saying
be a
great
member
minds.
of my party.
You were saying great minds. You were saying my learned colleague. What happened today? Why didn't great minds think alike?
Because I changed my mind. I'm feeling a bit under the weather, so that's why.
Okay, we'll come out of the weather.
You were purple before. You now changed.
You'll be all right.
I actually planned to wear purple, but then it was a gown, and I'm not in the mood to be arranging like on top of these people's high stool that is stressing me out.
Okay, no vex.
Thank you.
Hello and welcome to Breakfast Central this morning. If you're watching us from anywhere in the world, you're welcome. This is the right place to start your day. It's morning in Nigeria. If you're watching us from Melbourne, Australia, it's probably evening, and you'll get ready for the night. But we have a lot in store for you today. So many things are happening. There was a fire yesterday, and people thought we have not finished.
Because that's if you are going
to Mexico. No, I'm just preview. Just a little
spice.
So start again.
But my name is Benga Aborowa. Yes. You're welcome.
All right.
And by the way, El Muncho, what led to his arrest was
a woman.
Beware of that opposite gender, my brother. Trust no woman except your mama.
I don't
really trust you. Like either you went to Abuja. Yesterday, you didn't even allow us to rest on the show. When I was in Abuja, topic that is not even related to Abuja. When I was in Abuja. Let me go.
You know, I want to leave this. You know, the paper part. What we just said, welcome to the paper. Hey, what I was in Abuja.
You know what?
Take it easy.
People should just wait.
So materialistic.
People should just wait. Let me make a mistake, and it's paining me that I canceled ticket that I bought to go abroad. It's paining me because I really need to go up. No, I'm not going to America.
Joe and I will leave this set for you.
Wait now. Let me just go to London here. You know, when I come back, the weather here, winter. Anyway, you're welcome.
Please, I'm begging you. Don't mention Abuja today. I can walk out of the set.
Okay, I'll try not to.
Okay.
Because it's coming out of my chest. And, you're welcome to Breakfast Central. Thank you for joining us and starting your Tuesday morning with us. I always say that Tuesday is the most productive day of the week.
Yeah,
I didn't say that, but it's, of course, according to statistics. And many have argued that it is the most productive day because Monday comes with the Monday blues, and there's a lot of tension on Monday. But the edge of starting a new week is taking off after you're done with Monday, and then you can go into Tuesday with all the productivity that you should have mustered for Monday. You're welcome to Breakfast Central. I am Olive, MOD, and we're streaming live on YouTube via New Central TV Live, where we take your comments, your questions, and your contributions. So please feel free to go ahead and drop your comments, especially if you live in Abuja. I said Abuja, walk out of the set.
Well, if you must go to Abuja from Lagos, you have to fly. And something happened in the airspace, not on the airspace per se, but something happened especially that concerns Nigeria's aviation sector. On Monday afternoon, a fire broke out at Murtala Mohammed International Airport Terminal 1 in Lagos, gutting part of the facility after flames reportedly started in the IT server room on the 3rd floor near the E-wing of the departure lounge. Emergency teams from the Lagos State Fire and Rescue Service and the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria Fire Service swiftly contained the blaze, rescuing 12 personnel trapped in the control tower without injuries. Confirming the development, Controller General of the Lagos State Fire and Rescue Service, Margaret Adeshaye, said no lives were lost, equipment and items were destroyed, and the situation has been brought under control while investigations continue to determine the immediate and remote causes of the incident. End of quote. But there you have it. The video on the screen there also shows the other side of the story where Nigerians could not help but decry the manner in which the fire service tried to quench the fire by pulling their weight the best way possible. Nigerians felt if this was the best way they could pull their weight in quenching the fire with the equipment that were provided in quotes in a mega city, then there should be a cause for worry. But I want to say this, just as we get into this story, we're grateful that no lives were lost. It would have been a sad situation, but we also must give kudos to the MD CEO of FAN. She did a fantastic job, and why do I say so? Well, if we have that video where she actually spoke to members of the press, just watch this.
As you rightfully said, we were also alerted about a fire incident at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, which you can see right behind us. Immediately, the Fire and Rescue Service of the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria, along with all other emergency agencies, actually swung into action. We activated our emergency operating procedures immediately, of course, in line with the Nigerian Civil Aviation regulation, to ensure that we can control the fire. But immediately, I think the first point of contact is to make sure that we can safely, we can save lives and make sure that there were no incidents within the airport. We have safely evacuated everyone from the terminal at this time. We did have a few of our air traffic control members. There were about 12 of them that were left behind because we had about 4 flights that were still landing. Luckily, we were able to coordinate and get them out safely with the help of all of the security agencies that are here with us today. So far, I'm grateful for the effective coordination. We got support from both the federal government and the state government. We have various agencies. So outside of the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria, we have NEMA, LASEMA, we have the Air Force, we have the police, IRS, and a host of other agencies here. But what I can safely say is that we had no casualties. We did have about 6 injuries, of which they're all in stable condition. So far, our operations have been affected for a couple of hours. I can say that about 3 flights were diverted. The British Airways flight was diverted to Abuja, while the Lufthansa flight was diverted to Malabo, as well as Emirates. As of now, we are setting up our emergency operating center is actually active. We have everyone that should be there, along with the AOC and representatives of all of the security and safety agencies. We've also started setting up a remote tower. That remote tower should be up in the next 20 minutes and we'll be back to our operations. So we should have flights departing and arriving very shortly as soon as that's set up. In terms of our contingency plans, outside of the EOC, we're also trying to activate our temporary terminal. That should be up and running in the next couple of days as well.
Well, the only thing I can say right now is to clap, because they say when things are done properly, we should applaud properly. And I must say this, the MD CEO, Mrs. Olubomi Kuku, is actually, just like you mentioned, a square peg in a square hole. Why do we say so? This is what we expect from our leaders. When you have incidences, the first thing in any country, the first point of call is to address the citizens and give them updates. What we saw from the FAN MD shows that she was well briefed and debriefed.
In crisis
she
response.
had the details and information. I mean, sometimes you even start wondering, why don't we even have more women? You know, but anyway, that's a different thing. But you can see the way she broke everything. I don't need to be worried anymore because she has told me every single thing I need to know as a journalist, if I were there, or as a Nigerian. But it's different from when things happen elsewhere and people just feel aloof and feel that they don't need to talk to people. Who are they? Why should I address the public? And they just keep quiet. And that's exactly what I think the leaders should learn from. So thank you so much to the MD CEO of FAN, Mrs. Olubomi Kuku. Although Nigerians are still decrying the state of, the emergency, that's not your bit, but I think that's a side of the fire service that they need to also look into. I mean, that's my 2 cents.
Very important. But now let's head on to bring you the response of FAN. They had a tweet, and then we'll bring you the Lagos Fire Service as well. But right after that, let's go to what Nigerians are saying. You can see the tweet by FAN.
What Nigerians are saying, but me, that I'm in the studio, I cannot say something.
Sorry.
Okay, go on, go ahead.
This is the update from FAN. Whilst she had given her own update, there was a tweet to that effect, and talking about emergency response operations being ongoing as firefighting team efforts continue to fully contain and curtail the fire, while the orderly evacuation of passengers and airport personnel is in progress. We can also see that the Lagos Fire Service did tweet about this as well. Lagos Fire Service shared an update regarding this, saying the Lagos State Fire and Rescue Service emergency incident report fire outbreak, type of emergency fire call, time of call 15:52 hours, that's 3:52 p.m. Time of arrival 16:05 hours. Wonderful. So that's approximately 13 minutes between the time of call and time of arrival. Responding stations: Isolo, Ikeja, Bolade, and Alausa headquarters, fire station, scene of incident, Terminal 1. These are the responses. They say that people were safely rescued without injuries, no persons were reported trapped during the incident, that the agencies on ground, relevant federal and state emergency response agencies, were present to support operations and ensure safety at the scene. We'll take what Nigerians are saying, but let's take what Benga Abarawa is saying.
Olive, what do you also have something to say?
I'm in Nigeria.
What about women supporting women?
Oh, I'm proud of her. She's done us well. She's a good leader, and it's timely. It's a detailed intervention. No, it's timely disposition of information or disposal of information, communication of information. Please,
I mean, like Joe said, Mrs. Olubumikuku just set the gold standard for crisis response in Nigeria.
Yeah,
this is
crisis management.
What we need to see when it comes to defense, military. Every incident that affects Nigeria, the head of the agency should be in the forefront. I mean, she even made the work of journalists easy, because what other questions would you ask? She even talked about flights that were diverted. First and foremost, we have to be thankful that no life was lost. I mean, we're thankful that the fire didn't get out of hand. And it's also important to remember that the Terminal 1 of the Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Lagos is undergoing a whole
rehabilitation
and renovation. It's beyond renovation, and it's going to wear a new look. So while they're doing that, it's also important to always have safety and health at their in the forefront of what they're doing. And kudos to all the agencies involved, especially FAN. But like Joe said, the only sour point is we saw this happen with the Great Nigeria building in Lagos Island, that our fire service seems to be inadequate when it comes to dealing with fires that affect high-rise structures and skyscrapers. They might want to invest in firefighting equipment and the drones. The drones you can use to fight fire these days there in the United Arab Emirates and what have you. So I haven't said that. I believe this should be the standard, and kudos to the Nigerian Fire Service for also putting out those tweets to respond in addition to what Fana said.
All right, kudos to you too as well for your response. Let's hear what Nigerians are saying on X. And our tweets regarding the incidents of the fire outbreak in MM1. If we can put up the tweets from X. We appreciate the swift response and coordination by FAN and all emergency agencies involved, Akiyemi Oluwaseye says. Nigerian architects learn from this and many other fire incidents. Consider fire exit and assembly points when you design buildings, Mazi said. And the next tweet, the renovation budget was approved, the fire started, connect the dots however you like. Conspiracy theorists have jumped up.
Zoe.
Okay, our next tweet.
Zoe says connected.
This is really alarming. An airport is not just a building. It's a major point of safety and national image. I hope everyone is safe and lessons are learned from this, something to think about. And that's a very important thing there. We must find out what led to this and ensure it doesn't happen again, because unfortunately, when you hear of an airport burning down, it's not a good impression, because, or a part of an airport being on fire, it's not a good impression, because that's the first impression that people have of your country when they come in. That's why we're kicking against bribery in the airport and all such negative activities, because we don't want to portray our airport as a Abegistan or as a place that is not safe in terms of fire outbreaks. But let's now head over to Ebonyi State. Residents of Ishagu in Ebonyi State blocked a major expressway on Monday to protest repeated attacks by Fulani herdsmen and the perceived inaction of government authorities to protect the community. The blockade, which caused significant traffic disruption, involved hundreds of villagers who demanded urgent intervention to ensure their safety and security. Eyewitnesses report that the attacks have left several families displaced and their properties destroyed, heightening fears across the local government area of Ivo. Local leaders and community spokespersons called on state and federal authorities to respond promptly, warning that continued negligence could escalate tensions further.
This is Ishago Express Highway. We have blocked it already. There will be no entrance. There will be no entrance. We are not going to stop till government intervene on this. So there will be no movement till government intervene. We have done our possible best to make sure things go the way it's supposed to be. And yet they failed to listen to us. We have cried day and night, we have pleaded, and yet nothing is happening. So we cannot keep on dying in silence while the funny people are there in the bush killing our siblings, killing our brothers, killing our sisters, raping the one they can rape, doing all manner of things to our people. We have done our possible best to make sure the government comes for our aid, and yet the government know what is going on and they refuse to listen to us. They refuse to.
Very simple. It's much. How to do much?
Currently, the community is bleeding. We lost one of our brothers yesterday night to Fulani herdsmen. They have been killing. They have been killing. They have never stopped killing. We complained several times, but yet the government failed to come for our aid. Nothing is working. We have done our possible means. We have tried writing to them, and yet nothing happened. But yesterday, it wasn't funny. We lost one of our brothers to death to Fulani herdsmen. So we have no choice. Since the government have stopped to, since government have never done anything in order to help, so we choose to bring it down to express to federal.
And that is the reality of citizens who have felt that the government cannot defend, not who have failed, who have lived the reality where the government has not been able to protect and defend them. This is not the first time we're seeing protests in Ebonyi State. The same thing happened sometime in 2023 when women went out to protest. And yet again, history is repeating itself. One of the recent attacks, February 3rd, we saw that Ebonyi residents accused the security of complicity in herdsmen attack. And this happened in Amegu Nkalaha in Ebonyi State, Ishelu local government area, where they accused security forces of failing to prevent an attack by suspected herdsmen, which left at least 16 people dead. When the government shows that in itself it cannot guarantee the safety and security of citizens, what it does is that it pushes the citizens to the wall. They have gotten to a level of desperation. By the time you get to the point where you're blocking the federal highway and you're protesting, it shows that they have lost total and complete belief, faith, and absolute trust in the government to be able to guarantee their safety and security. And what I would expect is that there's a response from the commander-in-chief, of the armed forces to these citizens. The state of insecurity in Nigeria, pockets in different parts of the country, deserve an actual, town hall meeting of some sort. Something that says to the citizens that, I see you, I understand that we're not folding our hands. If you link this to some of the other reports about insecurity in Nigeria, you will hear about the allegations of payment of ransom by the government in the Papiri case where the students were kidnapped. I mean, these have been released by the Fiji, I believe it's Fiji.
Yeah,
they quoted AFP.
Yes, they did quote AFP as well. So by the time you hear stories like this, what it tells citizens is that you are your own security. So where citizens have to provide their own resources, they have to combat the crazy levels of inflation, they have to provide basic amenities for themselves, and even the housing that they're supposed to at least get some form of relief from the government. They're not able to get that, as the rent relief is, the rent prices are skyrocketed, and they can't even stay in the houses that they paid rent for. They're becoming internally displaced persons. When you ask such citizens, what then is the role of the government, it's really hard to see. And our hearts really do go out to the citizens in Ebonyi State.
I would like to toe the same line. I mean, my heart goes out to the people in Ebonyi State, and the primary responsibility of any government is to secure the lives of its citizens. That's the basic and the first responsibility. And if a government has failed at that, then it leaves more to be desired. Like Olive did highlight, I mean, this is not just an Ebonyi State situation. It's so bad that there are multiple incidents of violence in different parts of the country on almost a daily basis. This has gotten to a crisis level. Olive did mention a sort of town hall. I think we've gone beyond talking, and talk is very cheap. What we want to see now is decisive action that is taken against these perpetrators of violence in different parts of the country, these violent extremist groups. You cannot say that you have the full complement of the Nigerian Air Force, Navy, Army, other security agencies, and you can't deal with this resistance. It's really, really terrible. Nigerians want more from their commander-in-chief. Nigerians desire more from those whose responsibility is it to safeguard their lives, and they're really crying. It's at crisis level at this point.
It's really sad, Benga. Also really sad to come here every morning. I was saying this to a friend of mine who joined me to work this morning. I said, sometimes it's really tiring to wake up and you know that you're going to talk about this same thing over and over again. We're talking, we have a report package. I hope we take it today, this morning. In Plateau State, people were killed again. They were murdered in cold blood. When I stumbled on the story from our New Central website, and I also stumbled on the pictures on our social, I couldn't help but pause and say, people were lying down like they are animals, like they're cows that you just kill at will. And guess what? Nobody is saying anything.
It's business
and
as
that's
usual.
why we're giving plaudits to the FAN MD CEO, Mrs. Olubunmi, because she spoke. But guess what? You will not hear anything from the Nigerian military. You won't hear anything from the presidency. Nobody says anything. In short, the SSAs are now mute. They're now quiet when it comes to these killings. They're no longer talking about, they're no longer tweeting it, because I am sure that even they themselves are tired of going back to that same write-up that they usually just pick up, copy and paste. They just edit and edit the address. They are tired because it is what they do every now and then. So where is the action? Another thing that I worry about is if you read more about these things, you see that these people are crying in Ebonyi State. Honorable Nwufuru, who happens to be the governor of that state, remember there was a clash that happened within the state where people were beheaded, and then he came up and then suspended a few things. Now he has returned normalcy to the area. But people are saying, aside from the fact that these things are happening in different parts, the whole state, as it were, needs to get up. One big question that everyone is asking, even as journalists, and I am shocked, is that one, the president was quick to call a state of emergency in Rivers State, where there was no fight or anything. I mean, this is the footage. There you see people carrying, you know, I mean, we must apologize to our viewers this morning. We know it's a breakfast show, but I mean, we cannot help but keep hiding. No,
but we need to be triggered enough to know the reality of what is happening, because we're living in a bubble. A lot of us we're just existing,
wake up,
living in a bubble. We go to work, you eat, you do everything. These are the realities of your brothers.
It's the political class for me. How they just go about business as usual. You know, they sweep this on the carpet. There are defections. There's one party. They're
celebrating victory.
This person, and this is happening to your fellow countrymen. I think everything should be suspended. If it were other climes, and we've seen it, presidents call off their trips to go home to attend to these issues, and we're not even seeing the sort of numbers we're seeing. I mean, according to the Armed Conflict Location Events data, ACLED, it said Nigeria, I mean, in the last 1 year, the number of casualties of violent extremism is more than so many countries in the Middle East, where you believe there's conflict and wars are happening. And it's such an indictment on us. But we have this ostrich mentality of burying our heads in the sand and, giving ourselves pats on the back that we're doing something about it. We're not. This is beyond a crisis level. I remember when the incident in Yilwata happened, and we thought, oh no, this is it. That something has to be done from this point. You reshuffled, you changed service chiefs. You also changed the defense minister, but it seems like, you know, it's still the same story, which is unfortunate.
It's not just the president. Well, I do know that commander, and I said earlier that I want to hear from the commander-in-chief. My own is also, what are the state governors doing? What are they doing? Plateau State that has just been attacked is the same state that is allocating billions.
7.3 billion.
You know, for people that want to go to Jerusalem. I'm Christian, but I do not believe that any government should be sponsoring anybody to Jerusalem, you know, or to Mecca. I would imagine that if it's your personal relationship with God, and if you want to build your relationship, you should be able to fund building that relationship, right? If I cannot afford to go to Jerusalem, I have no business going to Jerusalem. Simple and short. It's a different thing if we are stable as a nation. You know, we didn't have as much challenges as we have right now. We're not always complaining about not having enough money to fund the budget, borrowing here and there. So what it looks like to those inside and those on the outside, it's a misappropriation of misplaced priorities. Like, we don't know what our challenges are. A critical example, as a parent, your child is critically ill, but you're going to buy new shoe.
Oh, I'll show you.
Or you're deciding that you want to go on holiday, and your child is critically ill. One is really, really ill, then you want to send the other one to America, or you want to send the other one abroad. Like, make it make sense. We need to really wake up. We're sleeping, and we really need to wake up. Nigerians need to demand accountability from leaders, not just at the federal level, but at the state level.
Anyway, let's see what Nigerians are saying most quickly before we proceed. What are Nigerians saying about this particular story? When communities feel abandoned, they take matters into their own hands. Government intervention is long overdue. And that is true. You're right. This is heartbreaking. People shouldn't have to risk their lives or block roads just to get protection. When the government fails to act, frustration becomes the only voice left. That's another one. Let's take another tweet. Pete Slim says, when will the nightmare come to an end? Every day we wake up, one terrible headsman news or the other. It's draining. And I agree with you. We hear, when we talk about it every morning, every day, it's draining on our mental health. Gozi Vibe says, highway blocked, voices unheard. How much longer will innocent people suffer? That's what he says. Well, what we're going through right now is what seems to know as governance deficit. Governance deficit, I mean, from those who also did government, is a state where the government fails to actually provide the fundamental constitutional rights to its citizens, which is security, safety of lives and property.
But there's always, I mean, I'm shocked this incident's happened, because if you travel on highways in Nigeria, there are multiple checkpoints at every
That's another angle, Benga. That's a very good angle.
Is it that they're deploying policemen to where they shouldn't be? If you move around the Lagos metropolis, yesterday I was just close to where we went to. I saw policemen searching the pockets of young men. You know, it's just harassment. Why are they not sent to the front where this incident happened?
Because you're even going too fast. We wrap up this breakup conversation. What happened to the fact that the IGP said he was going to pull policemen from VIPs?
They're back.
They are everywhere. So are we really serious? You know, if you're going to write this story this morning, I mean, just like we do it.
I mean, security is part of our is on the front burner. Is one of the top stories we'll be discussing today. So we'll pay more attention to it. I'm sad we can't take our third wake-up story.
Yeah, but just the only comment we can take is one Chukwemeka saying on YouTube, Nigerians won't be triggered by this. When we're tribalistic and can easily be bought with a can of malt, sad one, Nigeria is in really terrible state. Let's take our top stories this morning on Breakfast Central.
On Breakfast Central, we'll be looking at insecurity in Nigeria. Plateau governor under fire over pilgrimage budgets. And we'll be looking at the aftermath of the municipal council elections in the Federal Capital Territory, and also Kogi State schools reopen. Stay with us for the newspaper front pages. Welcome back to Breakfast Central. A new report by Amnesty International has shed fresh light on Nigeria's deepening insecurity crisis, revealing that at least 323 people were killed in violent attacks across several states within the first 20 days of February 2026. The human rights organization says the fatalities occurred in Benue, Katsina, Kwara, Kebbi, Niger, and Zamfara states, where armed groups and gunmen have repeatedly targeted rural communities with killings, kidnappings, and destruction of property.
Well, let's also mention that in a statement, Amnesty International said this rise in death toll underscores a stark failure of existing government plans to protect citizens and bring perpetrators to justice, warning that the authorities are falling short of their constitutional duty to safeguard the rights to life. Let's see what we have there on the screen very quickly. Right there you can see from Kebbi State, you have Kebbi attacks, northwest Nigeria, deadly raids by suspected Lakurawa bandits. Armed militants believed to be members of Lakurawa insurgent groups carried out attacks in Arawa local government area of Kebbi State, killing dozens of residents. Latest reports indicate at least 33 to 35 civilians were killed in these assaults, and the attackers also rustled cattle and forced families to flee their homes. We also have just to the right there a recent one that also took place in Barakin Ladi LGA, Durawa Babuje community of Barakin Ladi local government area, where armed men suspected Fulani militias and bandits killed at least 7 people. And the reports also had it that there were other violent incidences that took place, just like the one we saw recently in Plateau State. But let's just inform you that the situation comes amid broader security challenges that have plagued Nigeria for so many years, from repeated banditry and herder farmer violence to extremist attacks, with many communities living under the constant threat of violent assault. Well, today, let's go into the conversation quickly. Unfortunately, we still have to make sure that we talk about this until we find a permanent solution. Let's talk about the security incidences and issue with security agencies in focus. We do have our guest security and consultant, not forgetting to an expert. Onyekachi Adekoya joins us this morning. Good morning, Onyekachi. Thank you so much for being here.
Morning. Thank you for having me, and good morning to the viewers.
Good morning.
I'm sure, I don't know if you are aware that the people in Ebonyi State, still under this insecurity challenges, have come out to block the streets and the roads, to ensure that they form their own vigilante and their own security. They are indeed in protest, calling on the governor, calling on the federal government, who they say have failed to provide security and protect their lives. Now, what we're seeing here is starting to snowball into what Nigerians never expected it to be, from central to up north, and now we're here to other parts of the country. Can you share with us what does Amnesty International's report actually reveal about the current scale and the pattern of insecurity in Nigeria? It's left from the north, the middle belt. Now we're seeing the south, west, and it's like there's going to be a complete spread if care is not taken.
Yeah, thank you very much for the question. I don't think Amnesty International report says anything new other than what we have been saying, particularly as we approach a major election cycle. I have said that what empirical data will show, or evidence, sorry, is that insecurity tends to spike on the eve of every major election cycle. And I did also warn that unfortunately, the insecurity we are seeing has not reached its peak because it's cyclical. Because unfortunately, or I don't know how to put this now, the way we play our politics, insecurity is a great determining factor on electoral outcomes. If you look at the report by Yaga Africa, they had claimed that insecurity it's about 67% a determinant factor in the level of voter turnout and voter participation. So it would seem as though, based on the evidence that we have, the preponderance of evidence over the last 4 or 5 electoral cycles, major ones like this, that insecurity may destabilize opposition. Insecurity may be used to give the government a black eye and, counter their narrative of working. and insecurity typically becomes a major electoral issue. But, and very unfortunately too, at the federal level only. Our polity again has not matured to the point where we place a premium on life, particularly at the subnational level, because there's a recurring narrative that we seem to suggest that internal security issues are the full remit of the federal government. So it's easy for a state governor in Ebonyi or Plateau or Benue or Ogun or God knows where to say, hey, the federal government is responsible for the insecurity and we just allow the governors, go on a free pass. And because that happens without consequence, you see, there has to be accountability, responsibility. There's a clear line of chain of command. Once you're not holding the chain of command where that command is most effective, responsible for security, then these issues will be, as it were, on repeat. So it doesn't matter if the roadblocks are happening in Esak or, it's happening in Ebonyi, or it's happening in the North Central. What we are seeing are the symptoms of a deep-seated problem. And that problem is that in all our achievements over the years, we still have not mastered and matured as a country in issues of internal security, particularly issues of public safety and public order. So that's a deep-seated problem, that even our criminal justice system is broken because we don't have the right emphasis where it should be. So these feelings are unfortunate. We're not particularly happy by it or impressed by it. So coming on air, talking about the same symptoms, we're just discussing symptoms. We're not dealing with the real issues. I think it's quite sad and it's quite unfortunate for Nigeria, really.
Okay. Ms. Hedeko, the last time we had you here, things were a bit different with the dynamics of Nigeria's security architecture. But the Amnesty International report says 323 people were killed within just 20 days. That's an alarming figure. And there's been a marked and significant increase in the number of violent incidents and people killed since the Christmas Day bombings by the United States. Since then, so many things have happened. There are about 100 advisors on the ground who are here from the United States. How significant is that? And would it have any effect on the insecurity in the country that is currently bedeviling us?
I worry a bit that we will begin to suffer some level of destabilization by the actions of the United States. Firstly, they had claimed that they had obliterated ISIS in Sokoto. Turns out that they only hit an onion field. According to reports on the ground, hours before they struck, the insurgents, the terrorists saw helicopters cycling, so they moved out of their camp, informing the villagers to take shelter because an attack was coming. Even up until today, despite the claims of the US President and United States government, nobody has been able to show us a battle impact assessment, which means that the attacks were pretty much symbolic. It was a statement of claim. We're in a world of great geopolitical unrest, where Americans can fly missiles for the symbolism of it, attack a sovereign country like Venezuela for the symbolism of it, move on Armada, I think, of two battle groups now to the Middle East for the symbolism of it. And, it's all signaling to China and to Russia. So moving 100 to 200 advisors on the ground, it's America's taking a claim in Nigeria. And if you look at the partnership the Nigerian government has, the Ghanaian government has a stronger security partnership. I think it's called a strategic security partnership. In Africa, the US has a non-NATO level of security partnership with about 3 countries only. And that shows a level of commitment to work with each other. What we have is almost like a take it or leave it situation, where you first start by claiming that the reforms of the government are not working, and you can check, go back in time, the allegations of poor reforms, poor outcomes by the U.S. government embassy handle in Nigeria against this administration. That was ratcheted up. I think they were negotiating for something, to the claims of Christian genocide. They've come down for themselves. That all turned out to be a ruse. You fired missiles into Nigeria. You followed that with the deployment of advisors, all because in Chad, Niger, America's lost out on its drone base. Now, let's even come to the real crux of the issue. The formation of ISIL, Al-Qaeda, is not without the influence of the Americans, because you need to go back into the fight between the Russians and the Afghans, where the Americans had to sponsor the Mujahideens to rise and fight against, so that's the creation of Al-Qaeda. And Al-Qaeda turned back, and then had a splinter group, which is ISIL. It's like the case of Israel and Hamas. It's clear that Hamas was a birth child of current Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who had created the Hamas and funded them to upturn the position of the Palestinian Authority. Because they are hardliners who don't want the Palestinians to exist. So their philosophy was, if you create that unrest, and you have hardliners there, then Israel can come in and take out both Hamas and the PLA. So I'd like to look beyond this whole rhetoric of this and that and all that. The U.S., sorry, just to remind, the U.S. has been trying to, for the last 20 to 30 years, set up a base in Nigeria. And all that administration has flat out refused.
So in essence, Mr. Adekoya, what you're saying is we're really on our own in this battle against insecurity, and the United States is not the silver bullet.
On our own, and I think we're just going to be doing just fine. But introducing a foreign nation whose interests may not be directly aligned to yours. Remember, Nigeria has a non-aligned national foreign policy. So, having the U.S. soldiers on the ground, even in limited capacity, look at Germany, for example. Germany cannot have an independent national policy other than what the U.S. instructs because of the amount of armament and soldiers that the U.S. has on ground in Germany. So we were on our own, maybe we would have been better off. The question I've always asked is, who is funding ISIS? Who is resourcing them? Who's giving them intelligence? And how come they're growing in capability and complexity of the operation every year? So it's all, I'm saying that we may have been better off aligning ourselves with Sahelian states and ECOMOG in West Africa, and then, but again, the president finds himself between a rock and a hard place, because all America has to do is to pack one armada off the Gulf of Guinea under the name of fighting terrorists, and then you have a blockade of our economy, and then you have a blockade of means of livelihood. So these are the dynamics for it. I'm not particularly impressed by it. I don't think the outcome will be spectacular.
Okay, let's talk about what you had mentioned earlier, that we haven't seen a battle impact assessment of the last attack by the U.S. against insecurity in Nigeria. On whose shoulder does the responsibility lie, especially when the federal government of Nigeria says or claims that it's aware, and that the U.S. worked in collaboration with the government here in Nigeria? So who are we expecting this battle impact assessment from? And will it ever come?
Carry out the attack. We did not carry out the attack. The Americans carried out the attack. They used the U.S. taxpayers' money to carry out an attack. So the Department of War, as they do when they strike narco-terrorists, in the Gulf of Mexico, what they now call the Gulf of America, or within America's hemisphere, you see them issue a statement, and they show you the damage. If it's the narco vessels they strike, they show you a report. The adoption of President Nicolas Maduro, they put out a press statement. Even the position of different armadas in the Iranian hemisphere, they also put out statements. So it is the responsibility of the American government. But because they didn't hit anything other than onion fields, they have nothing to report, sadly. So I stand to be corrected. We're still waiting for the impact assessment to show. They claim it was ISIS in the Northwest, but we've said repeatedly, the Lakrawa group and Saru operate majorly in that Northwest corridor, and they are linked to Islamic, who is a regional presence in the Sahel. That's the Lakrawa axis. So when they said they hit ISIS, we said no, that's where Lakrawa operates. ISIS operates more in the northeastern part of Nigeria. So if America wants to hit ISIS, that's where they should be hitting ISIS. And where are they deploying the advisors to now, as of today? They are deploying those advisors to the northeast, not to the northwest.
I just wanted to point out, in the Nicolas Maduro case, the attack that, or the hit that was done, carried out by the U.S., was not with the cooperation of the Venezuelan government. In this case, it's with the cooperation of the Nigerian government. It wasn't done behind the Nigerian government's back. So shouldn't the Nigerian government be the one to demand, to ensure that in collaboration, again, just like they announced that morning that this had happened, that the Nigerian government is also giving us a step-by-step breakdown of the battle impact assessment?
No. In the Nicolas Maduro case, and you have to look at the facts again, Venezuela had a number, they had a layered anti-access system, what you call an air defense system. They had a Block 3 system, they had the S-300 system. Most of their, if not all, of their anti-access systems were shut off. They were not in operation. You still had air defense systems in storage that were blown up by the Americans. So that's on the one part. You know, flying all the way and flying at low level, I think about 8 Black Hawk helicopters going into the presidential villa to pick up the president. Of course, the Americans had to use a suppression system to suppress the guards who were from Cuba. But having access to the country's air identification zone without any impediment or challenge suggests that there was some level of coordination. And following what's happening, there's still the rhetoric that Maduro is still the president, but the vice president is running in his stead. That's fine. Now the first cargo from Venezuela, oil cargo, has gone to Israel in supply. The U.S. government has released some of the funds seized from Venezuela. Now a high delegation from the U.S. is visiting Venezuela, and then we're saying, so I'm saying that, hey, on that angle, you may not be absolutely correct that there was no coordination. But the point I make is that the attacking force owes it to its own people. They may not owe it to Nigerians to give us a battle impact assessment, but that battle impact assessment will be in the public and we will see it. I'm saying that because the impact was next to nothing, zilch, they hit practically nothing. It's like the claim that they took out the Iranian nuclear stockpile, but they are still negotiating with Iran on the same nuclear stockpile, which they said was obliterated. So you can check the facts and statements and based on grounds and the historical modus operandi of the current U.S. administration. So they're always looking out for major political wins, something to give to their base. You know, so I'm saying on the ground, there is no battle impact assessment because there's nothing to report. I stand to be corrected once they issue that report.
Okay, there's also this recent statement made by, of course, Fiji and AFP about a sum of over 2 billion paid to terrorists to get the release of the students, the Catholic students as well. And yet, as we speak till date, the federal government has not come out to mention how they were able to engage with these terrorists to get the children freed. Is this a systematic way of handling this situation? And is this the best? And does this also signal that Nigerians may never know peace? Because where there's business transactions, what we expect to see is that it will become a beneficial or an industry that becomes a business as well.
So let me first say that I'm happy for the people whose family members have been released. That would be my own priority. And within the remit of statecraft, don't let anybody tell you that they don't negotiate with terrorists. That's absolute nonsense. But because of the political correctness, people make statements as colorful as we don't negotiate with terrorists. but then fund them through back channels and agencies, operators, NGOs, and all these black operators. Again, like I said, if the government paid billions to have them released, well, it's a means of securing people. Your greater worry is that does that not become an industry? Well, unfortunately, because it's a political season and the political risks are very high, you don't want to bring back our Chibok girls, which we saw then that the Americans also latched on. President Barack Obama was campaigning. Michelle Obama also did a hashtag. So you can understand if this government is a bit fidgety in the midst of a severe negotiation against a semi-hostile state to them. So you can have some of these knee-jerk reactions. Well, we don't know whether or not money was paid, and I'm saying that frankly, I do not care. To it that the government has a responsibility to bring out people and to protect life and property. So if within the toolkits of the government, they've deployed one of such kits, I think that I would celebrate if it were my family members and focus on that. The bigger, broader problem you're talking about is, again, what I've been talking about. We have a failing criminal justice system. We're not doing the right thing at the right moment. Just little things. Security is just common sense. Security is not a rocket science. It's just commonsensical. If you address insecurity at the local government, those issues will not morph to become a statewide problem. If you nip them in the bud at the state level and you ensure a blocking operation, insecurity will not be able to spill from one state to another. But you know what we seem to have is a highly mobile, widely dispersed, very situational aware sets of attackers who are operating with military finesse, understanding how to avoid the Nigerian military in a head-on confrontation, to attreat our forces, to negatively impact on our communication line with our front troops, you know, to cut off communication in most cases, and then to surgically, you know, to take out one fob after the other, keeping us in a long, drawn, guerrilla-style warfare and bleeding the Nigerian economy. We're spending about 5 to 6 trillion on security alone. So these are the bigger issues. Let's not look at the symptoms. We don't have security in Nigeria, that's the truth.
And it's a very sad assessment from what you said. Nigerians watching this morning would have been hoping for, you know, some good news and movement towards fixing it. But it seems, like you said, the verdict is terrible and what we're headed towards. But my focus is on this. About a few hours ago, Representative Riley Moore of the United States did tweet that he presented reports on persecution of Christians in Nigeria to the White House. More to come. Just a few days ago, there were attacks in the northern part of Nigeria, but the victims were overwhelmingly Muslims. He didn't mention anything about it. And that brings me to my question. Are the United States good faith actors when it comes to dealing with Nigeria's insecurity issues? Because if you recall, just a few months ago, Al-Jalani, who was the head of Al-Qaeda in Syria, was hosted to a red carpet reception. Just a few months before that, there was a $10 million bounty on his head. He was the head of Al-Qaeda in Syria. You also have America saying that the Chinese are responsible for funding terrorism through illegal mining. My question is, are those miners part of, were they sanctioned by the Chinese government in Beijing to come work in Nigeria? They're working directly under the Chinese government. And also, is Nigeria caught in between a geopolitical chess game between China and the United States? And which way forward for us, really?
Well, you're asking me a very difficult set of questions. It will take me about an hour, but I'll try and make it short. Is there a geopolitical chess game between China and America? Yes, there is. Majority of Venezuelan oil flows to China. Majority of Iranian oil flows to China. Nigeria also supplies China, but not so much because, you know, they have to diversify their crude stock. So if you blockade Venezuela, you blockade Iran, then you know that Iran and Venezuela, they are not the main targets. It's clearly China. So I think that answers the question on the geopolitical contest. It's part of what we call great power politics and great power contestations. The other question you asked was, is America a good faith actor? I wouldn't know. You have to judge for yourself. Osama bin Laden was a trained CIA operative at the time. Saddam Hussein was aligned to the Americans. Al-Jelani, you mentioned, President Trump 2 or 3 days or 4 days ago announced that he practically handpicked and put him there. And the US is now pulling out of bases in Syria just to show that they're in alignment. And then I think President Trump called him a strong man and, is supporting the unification of Syria under one flag and one force. So I don't know, you take Trump's word for it. He says he puts him there. So if there's an alignment of objectives, then clearly. So is America a good faith actor? I don't know. Look at Afghanistan. They went into Afghanistan to fight the Taliban after spending almost $11 trillion and fighting for over 10 plus years. They left Afghanistan back to the Taliban and left Afghanistan with billions of military hardware. So I don't know, you judge for yourself. Vietnam, Puerto Rico, even the current setup of the United States today, I think about 2/3 of the land mass that the US owns was taken over from Mexico hostilely. And then you see Senator Marco Rubio, the US Secretary of State, giving a statement during I think the EU Security Summit, the Munich Security Conference, stating practically that America must go back and the West must go back collectively to its golden days, and suggesting that perhaps the use of force to pursue one's interests, wherever that may not be wrong. So I'd given a course on geopolity, or what we call geopolitics, the merger between geopolitics, interests, national defense, and the rest, to say that we have now entered an anarchical world order where strategic alliances will replace multilateral organizations. We've seen effectively that the UN is gone to one side. People just do what they want to do based on national interest. So is the US a good faith actor? I don't know. Just look at the facts. I think you asked a question on the Northwest or something. I missed that one.
The religious framing, religious Christian persecution in Nigeria, that is driven by the United States, even though they're cooperating with Nigeria, but the narrative that comes out, the communication from the United States government is, Christian genocide, Christian persecution, even though all Nigerians are victims of violent extremist groups. Does this help fight against terrorism in any way? Or are we being used to appeal to the evangelical base of the Republicans in America?
Well, in statecraft, this is what you call narrative shaping, and sometimes you call it social engineering. When Libya was going to be attacked, the Benghazi massacre was the basis for, it says, human rights claims and violation, and Gaddafi was taken out. The same thing for Saddam. It was claims of, genocide. But the Yazidis in Syria, in Iraq, are being killed, are slaughtered. There's human rights massacres and violations happening in Afghanistan. I've not seen the America go back in to solve some of the problems, even in Syria. So there's narrative shaping. You can give a dog a bad name as long as you have an agenda. I have said also repeatedly, I have an office in the Northwest, in the Northeast. I'm a Christian. My mom is from the southeastern part. I'm Yoruba by tribe. And I will tell you categorically that the Muslims are the most impacted by this thing. There is some subtle underlying agitation between the Hausawa original landowners against the core Fulani fundamentalists that have held them in subjugation. for several years, even just from late 19th century, 18th century, thereabout. So some of those agitations are now presenting themselves as farmer-header clashes, which in truth is not what it is. So nobody's coming to the aid of the Hausawa, and majority of them are Muslims, and they're suffering a lot. So no, the narrative doesn't add up to the information on the ground. And that's why you see that on the face of evidence, the Americans are beginning to back down on their claims of Christian genocide because they just see it's completely ridiculous, but maybe also because what they want, they're getting it, in terms of negotiation. Only God knows what other concessions have been given to them by the president, who in any case, under this current administration, may not have too much of a choice.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that answers that. There are other bigger issues.
All right. Thank you so much for your time, Secretary Adekoya, for speaking with us. Let's wait and see and hope that the federal government will address the issues. And then again, we'll look forward to hear what the strategies are to curb these incessant insecurities, especially ahead of the 2027 elections. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. And hope is not a strategy. But
yes, absolutely. Absolutely. We always say that here as well. Let's tell you what's coming up next here on Breakfast Central. Coming up next on the program, we look at insecurity in Nigeria, also looking at a different aspect. The aftermath of the FCT elections. They say they won, the portals changed the results. We do not know, we'll find out. Reps Committee on Absence of Polytechnic is also a conversation we're going to have. Stay with us, we'll be back in a moment.
The Plateau State government has come under fire for approving a staggering 7.48 billion naira to sponsor 1,100 Christian pilgrims to Jerusalem. A civil society advocate, Jacob Choji Pwakim, condemned the move, describing it as a misplaced priority and a waste of taxpayers' money. To put this in perspective, each pilgrim is reportedly costing the state about 6.8 million naira. The Plateau State Pilgrims Welfare Board confirmed that the sponsorship is jointly funded by the state and federal government, covering logistics such as screening, orientation, uniforms, and travel materials.
But Plateau is not alone. Across Nigeria, pilgrimage sponsorship has become a recurring theme. For instance, Kebbi State recently approved a 10 billion naira loan to subsidize Hajj costs, with each pilgrim expected to pay 7.69 million naira. This raises a bigger question. How much is Nigeria spending annually on religious pilgrimages? And is this sustainable in a struggling economy? The Plateau State government insists that this is part of the corporate social responsibility, and that the question is, will this function in a state grappling with insecurity, unemployment, and poor infrastructure? This is definitely, for most people, an unjustifiable expenditure. But joining us for this discussion this morning is Public Affairs Analyst, Mr. Yakubu Kazim. Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning. It's actually Kazim Yusuf, not Yakubu.
Oh, thank you very much for that clarification, Mr. Kazim Yusuf. 7.48 billion for 1,100 pilgrims to Jerusalem. And then there's the Kebbi State government that has put aside 10 billion to sponsor pilgrims to Hajj. Do you consider this a responsible use of public funds, especially in a time where citizens currently face economic hardship? And should these billions be spent on religious tourism? Well, some would argue that it's not religious tourism. Some would argue that it's part of, the tenets of the faith. But how do we find that divide?
Okay. It's actually irresponsible use of public funds. The Hajj is a tenet of faith in Islam, and is actually very, 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 very encouraged. And we have there are centuries of travel from people in the Hausa region of Nigeria towards going towards Hajj. It's a rite that has been known for more than 300, 400 years. So they've been going even when they used to go by foot. So it precedes whatever it is that we have now. The challenge we have is that the kind of politics that we play means that politicians have to be as populist as possible, and those who can help people go for Hajj tend to have more social capital that they can then wield when it comes to the time of elections. Although, as things stand, with states like Kebbi, who sit on the rung of the economic ladder, in terms of the poverty index, it's actually irresponsible use of funds. They will be better placed helping those poor farmers or those poor people gain economic viability, and they will then use their funds in and of themselves to then go on Hajj. Mainly because on the religious basis alone, Islam specifically states that those who should go on Hajj are those who can go by themselves. It is legislated for those who can go in and of themselves, for those who can go by themselves, who can afford it by themselves. So they are better placed helping them economically, putting in place structures that will help the farmers, for example, in Kebbi economically, and those ones will then use the profit from their businesses that they own or things that they do to then go on Hajj by themselves. That is better use of public funds.
All right, Mr. Kazim, so we all know that Plateau State, I mean, just recently, videos are circulating online, of which we also have our man on the ground who covered that sad incident. People were killed, people are being killed, people have left their homes, nobody is indeed safe, as it were. But here you have a governor who has decided to prioritize ensuring that people travel based under the edges of religion. Isn't this not just a misplaced priority, but something that every single indigene should worry about? And what's your take on governors who carry these support system without caring for what is really happening to the people at first?
So what they do is that those governors prioritize political capital that they will get in sponsoring people for these religious pilgrimages. It's a way for them to settle political scores. There are some of their political foot soldiers that the only thing they are going to get is some of these trips. So they basically just package some of these trips for them to say a place like Plateau that should focus on security, for example, and then package some of them and take them abroad. And when those people come back, they get enough political capital. They tell their friends, they tell their families. It helps them in the in their localities, and they will then use that to then leverage as a bit of leverage in the coming elections. So it's sad but unsurprising that it's been done very close to another election season. It is what they always try to do. So there are states like Plateau, for example, where insecurity has been rife for so long. There are the farmers there. It's one of the basket cases where one of the biggest states in terms of farming agriculture in Nigeria, where those kind of spending needs to be prioritized. They don't do that because they feel they will get more votes by taking people from some local governments all around, taking them on pilgrimages, and then when they come back, those ones will guarantee them far more votes than them investing or putting their effort, more eggs into something like agriculture, for example, or insecurity that will allow free flow of trade and agriculture, for example. So it's just what they try to do. They prioritize the short-term benefit of them getting political capital from sending people on pilgrimage than them focusing on the rubber meets the road issues of them actually focusing on security, for example. So it's what they do because they try to get political mileage from it.
Mr. Kazim Yusuf, we've also seen governors that have decided to end this, and they still succeeded in winning elections twice. We saw this in Lagos State, and the government in Kaduna of Malam Nasir El-Rufai did stop the sponsorship of pilgrimage, and it didn't seem to lose any political capital. But let's talk about the positives, if there are any inherent positives in this pilgrimage sponsorship, because some have talked about the moral and social impact on pilgrims. You know, when they come back from the Holy Land, they're very holy, and they've learned so many things about morality, and if you look at our society, it tells a different story. So what's your take?
I agree with you. Malam Nasir El-Rufai in Kaduna banned pilgrimage sponsorship for both the Muslims and the Christians, and he worked out for him. However, some politicians may think that he decided to take the harder route by not sponsoring and then trying to struggle in terms of winning elections. Some of them will then decide, especially those who feel they don't want to take the hard way out of these issues, to say, why not just keep on sponsoring pilgrimages anyways? After all, some of them spend double of that, or more than double of that, on refreshments and all kind of illogical spending that goes on. Pilgrimage sponsorship is not the only line items that governors expend frivolous amounts on. I hope we also take that into cognizance. So there are spendings on things like cars over and over. They're spending on things like furniture over and over that get spent year on year without real spending going on sectors like healthcare or real education going on. So pilgrimages are just one of them. And if they feel that they can just send them on pilgrimages as a bit of settlement, and then they get that political mileage and they can use that to leverage on them, some of them will just continue to do it because they calculate the cost. Some of them actually do not want to put in the hard work of actually putting in welfare for people that actually need it, and then claim that they're trying to help out people. Because how can people have morals? And to counter what they claim that some of them say about morality, how can people really do have morals when they are living in poverty? They go on pilgrimages, they come back and land in that same poverty, and then we then say that things are not changing. They are not changing because the base realities that should be there before people can actually go have actually really not changed. It's incomparable to situate those who are comfortable enough economically to dip their hands into their own pockets themselves after taking care of their family, to go on Hajj and come back, and to compare to those who are struggling economically, who are then sent on Hajj and then land back into the same poverty situation that they were previously in. So for politicians, they don't really care about morality, even if they claim that they do. For those governments that sponsor them, they don't care about their morality as it is. All they care about is the political mileage that it gives them. Somebody is complaining too much, he works for the party, didn't get anything, just pack 20, 30, 100, 200 of them into the Hajj slot, send them on Hajj, and they are settled. That's like 8.5 million naira, 9 million naira. That is how much, quote unquote, they are supposed to get, and they don't even really give them anyways. Because probably, if they give them 9 million naira or 8.5 million naira for that money, they may not really need their political need again. So they send them on Hajj, where they won't get to spend that money, where they won't actually get that money. They send them on Hajj, and then they come back and they are still indebted to them. So it's what the politicians do, probably because it gives them mileage. About morality, no, it doesn't give them the morality at all, and it's reflective in our society.
So is there a way that, I mean, what would your recommendation be? What reforms would you recommend to ensure transparency and accountability? Many would argue that if we scrap this pilgrimage completely, that those who work within these boards that will lose their jobs. You know, that's one argument to put forward. But if you put it on the scale of what these monies could achieve for us as a society, you then ask yourself, you know, is the opportunity cost worth it or not? So what ways would you suggest that we go forward? What reforms would you recommend? Do you recommend that it be scrapped entirely? Do you recommend that it be structured, you know, to be maybe self-funded by religious bodies, other individuals interested? How do you, you know, posit that we go forward from here?
Thank you. It's very simple. Pilgrimage should be self-funded. It's very simple. What should be scrapped is government sponsoring people for pilgrimages. If the politicians themselves want to sponsor people on pilgrimages, they should do it of their own pockets. And if they start doing that out of their own pockets, they clearly would not be able to afford the volume of people they are able to afford at once. Settling people and sending people on Hajj by Hajj boards, sending people on Hajj or sponsoring people for Hajj by government does not mean the pilgrimage boards will be scrapped. They don't necessarily need to be scrapped. People still go on pilgrimages by themselves.
Right.
You still have people, so you still have, there's a viable private commercial industry for private pilgrimages that is currently viable in Nigeria. So people pay out of pocket because they don't even want to go through the state and spend, let's say, 1 month in Hajj, for example. Some want to spend 2 weeks and go back to their jobs. There's a viable industry for that right now. So there's a template already. So if it's maybe stopped officially by government, it wouldn't really change anything. What it will change, though, if the money is rerouted to social services or to interventions like in agriculture, for example, in 4 or 5 years, that money should be good enough for people to start making money in and of themselves. And I think we saw an example during former President Muhammadu Buhari's first term, when some of those farmers, when they had this maize boom, some of them in and of themselves went on hard by themselves from the money that they made. So if the economy is better, people should be able to go on hard. I think the money for Hajj, for example, pilgrimage, for example, is around $5,000, $6,000. And if people are economically, it can even be a base of economic viability. There used to be a time when people would say, the Fulanis would say 5 cows equaled 1 Hajj. So if the economy has risen to a level where people can afford Hajj for themselves, even if it takes them 5 years to save for it or 8 years to save for it, at least we'll have a sensible way of managing money, and we'll have a way of structuring this whole pilgrimage business, instead of the government messing it up and then sending people, vast people, politicians that they have on hard because they want to settle scores. It doesn't help us, and it detracts away from the core spending that we actually need to spend money on. We don't actually have a revenue problem alone. We also have a spending attitude problem where we allocate monies for things that are physically clearly not just worth it. And this, for example, is one of them, because the religion itself, in Islam, for example, emphasizes that Hajj is for those who can afford to do it.
All right. Well, let's see what will happen after this. But thank you so much for your time. Thank you for speaking with us, Mr. Kazim. And thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Very well said. Interesting discussion from Kazim Yusuf. I did enjoy his analysis. And I mean, he covered basically all our questions and what people are asking. So it's very tokenistic, and it's the political capital that some of these politicians get from it. That's why they're doing it. It's not like they're altruistic. He also mentioned something very instructive, that if you give these people the money, about 8 million, it will change their lives. They will use it to, they wouldn't need to come and beg you for Fanta and other things. But when they go to the Hajj, they come back to the same state they were before, which is really, really sad. I'm wondering if Olive is planning to go on pilgrimage. It would be nice to have,
actually.
you know, you already have LLB, BL. It would be nice to have a JP.
I would love to. I would actually love to go on the pilgrimage. In fact, something I'd hoped I'll be able to do with my mom.
Help me bring holy water, please.
No, I actually want to go to the Mount of Olives.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because you're named Olive.
No, but not. Yeah, that's one. That's on the surface side of it, but especially because it played a symbolic role in the journey of Jesus and how Jesus would always retreat to the Mount of Olives. So yeah, I'd like to go visit the Mount. I should probably cut out this clip and keep for the day.
It's fine, Olive. It's fine. We need to move on with the
Mount of Olives. You asked me a question you don't want me to answer?
Okay.
All right, Joe, over to you.
I think commercial needs to start charging for airtime.
Are you guys done?
We're done bickering.
Okay, we'll go on a break. When we come back, we have a sad story that we'd love to share with you. It's a rather sad one. It's got to do with Lautech nurses and what happened to them. So do us a favor, stay with us. Breakfast Central continues in a moment. Welcome back. A dark cloud hangs over the community of Ladoke at Akintola University of Technology, Lautech, following the heartbreaking loss of 6 final-year nursing students. The victims, all 500-level students in the university's open and distance learning Bachelor of Nursing Science program, reportedly died in a fatal road accident while traveling to Ogbomoso to sit for their final examinations. They were not just students, they were working nurses, women balancing careers, academic pressure, family responsibility, and in one painful case, pregnancy. One of the victims was said to be heavily pregnant at the time of the crash. The journey to campus was meant to mark the final stretch of years of sacrifice and determination. Instead, it ended in tragedy. Well, their bodies have been deposited in mortuary as the university community waits for official confirmation and further details from Lautech management, the Oyo State Police Command, the Federal Road Safety Corps, FRSC, and other relevant authorities. As of now, no formal statement has been released regarding the exact circumstances surrounding the crash.
Beyond the brief, Incident again draws attention to the ongoing dangers on Nigeria's roads. Every year, road accidents cut short promising lives, including those of young professionals striving to improve themselves and serve society. Now, for classmates, colleagues, families, and the wider healthcare community, the loss is heavy. 6 future nurses, 6 dreams interrupted, 6 families in mourning. Now, as the nation continues to await more information, thoughts remain with their loved ones during this painful time. Sadly, there has been no official statement yet from the authorities. The sad part of this, honestly, so they are leaving Abuja to go to Lautech, which is in, I think, Ogbomoso.
Yes.
Right? And they're leaving Abuja. I checked online and it was like a 9-hour journey to go to write the exams. A number of questions came to mind. Why does Lautech not yet have, if it's an online distance learning, ODL,
then
why
the
don't they have,
examination should be online.
yes, and why don't they have
Computer-based.
centers in different parts of the country? It's not a new program. It's a program that has been existing. Why don't they have centers in Lagos, Abuja, in the South, or, you know, different parts of the country that will make it, or in the, at least in the 6 geopolitical zones, to make it easy for those who are learning online to be able to go write the exams. That's one. On the other hand, we cannot overlook how many lives are being lost on a daily basis because of our poor road infrastructure. Too many potentials, too many people.
Multiple factors.
Multiple factors, you know.
So the training, the behavior of drivers that drive articulated vehicles, the trucks, they've caused so many deaths in different parts of the country. And also, I remember when we had multiple incidents of tanker explosions, there was a committee that was set up. How much of the report has been implemented with regards to dealing with trailers and also road safety? So it's really, really sad. My heart goes out to the family. What do we do? Do we just talk about it and then wait until the next incident happens? Because that seems to be the case for most issues in Nigeria. The prayer is, or you hope it doesn't happen to you or your loved ones, which is very, very selfish. And we should be thinking of permanent solutions to things, and we should see movement towards improving our systems. No one is saying, oh, the country should be perfect, but let's see movement towards, you know, improving the system. For example, trailers that have containers, they carry containers and they fall off. How much, what's been done to check that they are fastened at the ports? Is there a route for them to pass? You know, simple things like that, low-hanging fruit. It's really unfortunate and it's sad. And I get very agitated. Not agitated, I get, please, can you help me with the word, please?
You get very traumatized or very...
nervous if I have to embark on an interstate road trip.
No, I try to avoid
take
as
the
much
train
as possible.
service. If I'm going to Ibadan or Abeokuta, I'd rather take the train than put myself on the road, because I know the dangers. Sometimes it might not even be from you. It's just another drunk road user, the bad roads, you know, things like that. It's sad. It's
sad,
cut off in their prime.
It's also painful that there was a mother and unborn child. I mean, she was pregnant, and she was part of the six of them, 6 nurses. What's really painful is that, I mean, we're supposed to have their pictures on the screen there to show you who they really are. The families are mourning. Some friends are still in disbelief. Colleagues, you could say, fellow students who were in the same school, those who are not up to 500 level yet and who knew them. These were working women who were working class women, while they were also carrying out their jobs, their responsibilities. They were also schooling, because, I mean, think about it. The economy does not fully grant you the autonomy to be able to go to school full-time. So just like in other climes, you work part-time and you also school part-time. And that's what these ladies have done. But now it was time for them to actually take that trip
in their final year
to go finish up. And it's like, the pain for me is too much, because you spent roughly 5 years. You've done 5 years, and after working after 100 level, 200, 300, 400, your final year, after putting in all the energy, resources, kind of like reminds me of a family friend who had lost their son, who was in his, you know, final year. So it's like you've watched this child grow from secondary school, from primary school up until the university. He got into university, we're celebrating, and he got into his final year, just to go and write his exams. It's quite a similar story with the one we did see.
Heartbreaking.
It's heartbreaking. But what pains the most is that the FRSC, the authorities, are yet to release a detailed statement. And that's one.
It's not just FRSC, Lautech, because I'm currently on
yes.
X checking their page, and that's another problem, Joe. The fact that even the pictures we were going to show are not pictures that we can officially say that, oh, these pictures, we know for a fact that these are the students.
From the
because
incident,
it is their classmates that were sharing the pictures.
So I also got the story, I also got the information from a classmate.
So that's what I'm saying.
Said,
we don't
these
have
are
an
the
official
people,
statement,
you know.
and it's also in the way that we treat lives in Nigeria. People die, we treat them as numbers. 6 people died, 11 people died. Don't they have names? Why don't we name people when they die? Why don't we treat them as humans? If we cannot honor them in life, at least honor them in death. We just call numbers, real out numbers. 6 lives were lost, 20 lives were lost, 323 lives were lost. Who are these people? Maybe the moment we start to attach names to these people, then we'll be a little more sensitive to the state
and humanize their stories.
Exactly. It's just 6 died. And that really
it's
upset
very, very
me.
unfortunate. And this is what we see in other crimes, their media. News
Yes.
Central also does it. If you remember the Ibadan incident, I think a student died. The victim of police accidental discharge. News Central Israel went to meet the family. So we need to humanize. So it's not just numbers. And when News Central covers incidents in the north, our correspondents talk to the families
and get
of kidnapped victims of violent extremist terrorism and get their names.
It's why when the people who
it puts life, and it makes it more relatable than just random names. And it is good that we honor the memory of
Take away the politicization of Black Lives Matter. When there was a protest against the killing of George Floyd, if you remember, part of the chant was say her name or say their names, say their names. When you say their names, it adds some human element to it. So please, we're expecting a proper address by, the Federal Road Safety Network. We also want to get a proper address by Lautech that states their name, so that we can, if we did not honor them in life, we honor them in death. But the most important way to honor these lives is to ensure that we put measures. When we hear things like this happen, what steps need to be taken to ensure that it doesn't happen again? How do we protect another nurse to ensure that no other final year nurse in this online distance learning program we have to travel from Abuja to Ogbomoso to write an exam, knowing our current infrastructure?
I really don't understand.
If it's not road that killed them,
they would still be alive.
Security people could have even, bandits could have kidnapped them.
So we are bedeviled by a whole lot every day we wake up. I mean, like I always say to myself, thank God for life. 2 things I pray for regularly is life and good health. Because it's not about the money. No, I don't really base my prayers on money, as long as I know that God will take care of whatever you need. But in terms of life and good health, those 2 things are important. Now, you have 6 nurses in a country that is bereft of nurses, doctors. You're crying that you do not have enough. The ones that have taken their time and their life, dedicating it to care for human lives, the system is not caring for them. Now, this is what we're saying. Let me also mention this here, since this is an opportunity to also talk to the families who have lost their loved ones. I mean, we sympathize with them. Our hearts go out to the families who have lost their daughters in that accident. And we also want to use this medium to speak to the federal government. 2 years ago, there was a consistent case of accidents, especially from tankers. And people had mentioned that the way these tankers drive, they drive recklessly. I'm sure you've all been witnesses of the trucks that carry the tippers, the sand. You see the way they drive so recklessly, like they're small cars. But again, you ask yourself, who's checkmating these ones? And one thing we need to understand as a country is that if we allow impunity to continue, it governs every single sphere of society. So it's not just impunity in the government, parastatal or government level. It will trickle down to even small things as road drivers on the roads. They will feel like, who's there to catch me? After all, if I have small 1,000 naira, I'll give it to the official. He will let me go. And this is also a clarion call to the officials. I mean, staying on the roads, collecting money. We've seen accidents happen because 1 or 2 persons were not doing their job. It's also a big problem. But then again, I think in the spirit of wanting to elevate our educational system, let's start looking at distant learning, doing it online, virtually, please. Because people go to school in London.
Is that not what JAMB does? Is that
People
not
go
what
to school in London.
So what I'm saying is, even if you want the exams to be done in certain situations where you say, okay, everybody control the environment, have centers in the 6 geopolitical zones, that's the very least. If not, then maybe you should scrap the provision for that course if you can't afford, because our current reality is that our roads are poor, we're battling insecurity. We don't want to constantly put people on the road for hours, knowing that we can't guarantee their safety, and then we can't guarantee their security. But the blame doesn't go entirely to LAUTECH for not sorting out these alternative provisions. We must also hold the government accountable to fix our roads. We hope that there's a proper investigation that is carried out to ensure again that the driver of the vehicle also was somebody who was able to observe the necessary driving instructions in terms of speed limits, because just while you were speaking, Benga, you did speak to how a number of these tanker drivers drive like hooligans. They're
very reckless.
They're very reckless. A lot of those who drive the trucks, they're driving under the influence of alcohol. One has brushed me one day on the road. It's almost like they're trying to prove a point.
No, that's what they do.
So
they push you to
I don't like being behind them at all. For any reason, as much as I can, I try to quickly overtake and go far away because they drive like maniacs, a whole lot of them. So we need to also regulate the people who drive those trucks and ensure that we have the best of the best. I mean, these are some of the messages. Oh, my goodness.
We lost 6 of my colleagues yesterday who were traveling for exams in LAUTECH, ODL final year exams. When will NMCN and NANNM look into universities having centers across the states of the nation? No, we're thinking of building. Well, let's not go there. Let's just focus.
Let's digitize the process.
I need to pinch myself to focus. And then you have some of their pictures there. I mean, take a look at them.
This is really sad.
They've done everything they can to certify themselves, to work hard, but the system eventually fails them. Anyway, that's all we're going to take on that story. Our hearts once again goes out to the families of the deceased, and we do hope that you find some form of comfort. It doesn't stop here. We also look forward to hear from the school and also the authorities. We'll go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll take a look at another story here on Breakfast Central.
Schools in Kogi State have resumed academic activities following a temporary closure over security concerns. Authorities say the move was precautionary, assuring parents that measures have been put in place to safeguard students. News Central's Mana Balabulu reports.
The buzz of students fills classrooms once again across Kogi State after nearly 3 weeks at home. On February 4th, the state government directed schools to proceed on what it described as a midterm break, citing security intelligence linked to banditry in some communities. 19 days later, learning has resumed. For many students and parents, it is a welcome return.
I'm liking the way we resumed early because I'm getting tired of staying at home. It's boring and there's nothing to do much. All you do is work at home.
I feel like I'm in heaven because even right now there's teacher in my class that I listen to attend. I feel so good, so good. Like especially government school, this is government school already, so at least we should have security in our school, in each government school, that at least we know that as students are in school now, they are in safe hands.
But I'm very much happy that the government has done something needful to make the student to go back to their school.
Some teachers, however, say the unexpected break disrupted academic schedules.
Me, when I was actually a child, I actually stayed back from school, so I wasn't happy at all. But when they stayed back at home, because the more staying back, the more they forget some things like that.
School administrators say additional safety measures have been introduced to reassure parents and protect students.
We have our security on ground, and at the same time, we have a CCTV camera that monitors the activities in the school, people going and coming into the school.
As a military man, by the grace of God, you saw me here. Before any teacher comes here, what we need to do is to say we have first check to make sure that the place is secure for learning.
Although visible security presence appears limited around some schools, the Kogi State government insists the situation is under control. While many students and educators express relief at returning to classes, many are emphasizing the urgent need for sustained security. In Kogi for News Central, Moino Balagbobo.
The People's Democratic Party councillorship candidate for City Centre Ward, Loveth Izeko, has officially rejected the results of the just concluded FCT Area Council elections, which held on the 22nd of February. Addressing a press conference in Abuja, Izeko congratulated the re-elected AMAC chairman, Christopher Michaelangu, but insisted that the councillorship poll was marred by widespread irregularities and figure manipulation at the collation centers. She claimed that while her team won convincingly at the polling units, the results were altered to favor the winner and All Progressives Congress candidate, highlighting specific instances of electoral fraud. She lamented the failure of the Independent National Electoral Commission to ensure real-time transmission of results, which she argued created a vacuum exploited by imposters, and announced that her legal team has been briefed to challenge the outcome at the Election Petition Tribunal to reclaim her mandate. Izeko called for urgent electoral reforms to protect the ballots of the youths and women who defied voter apathy to exercise their rights.
The councillorship election was marred by serious irregularities, particularly at the points of collation. Our record showed that we won convincingly at the majority of the polling units. However, the figures were manipulated during the collation process to favor the APC candidates. I wish to state again that we are not accepting these results. Our legal team is already preparing to review the process. We will pursue this matter to its logical conclusion at the tribunal.
The Obedient Movement has faulted the conduct of the just concluded FCT Area Council elections, alleging irregularities and institutional compromise. Addressing journalists in Abuja, the group claimed there was low voter turnout and accused the electoral body of changing some polling units on election day, thereby creating confusion. The group also alleged that the FCT minister restricted movement of voters, describing the situation as intentional disenfranchisement.
The problem we have is low voter turnout, particularly in the cities, and that has always been the case. But going right to some of the satellite towns, you can see that it's quite impressive. Coming to this polling unit, you can see the number of persons that are here. Just like other ones, we went. It's unfortunate in the cities, very low turnout. And in an off-cycle election like this, it's always the case.
What are we doing? The situation in this country has made people populous, and people are just, I don't know what to say again.
What I can say is that it was peaceful, like previous one, that everybody will be running helter-skelter, but yesterday everything was peaceful.
There was actually a polling center close to me. You know, the fear of coming out is one of it. Okay, I didn't come out, but I was just like before. We were actually hoping to hear noise, but there was no noise. It was peaceful.
There was voter apathy. Most people didn't turn out for elections. We even had to call some persons and why are you not there? They said that the government have failed them, that there is no need for them to go and do any voting.
The citizens are complaining that the government is not doing well. So it is the time, that's your power that you have to either bring in the person you want or to remove the person you don't want.
We have experienced low turnout. It has been a recurring decimal. That during the area council election, we have a low turnout. We really want to know, I think this is a question we need to ask, why is it that at the 11th hour, we have a situation where INEC will be changing the goalposts? People who knew where that their polling unit used to be, on the day of the election, there was no information. If there was going to be something like, we expect that 2 weeks before the election, you make a publication that this and this and this has been changed, so that people will go and know their new voting unit. But it's surprising that on the day of the election, that's where you see a new polling unit. You go to your previous polling unit, find out it's no longer there.
He gave actually directive that nobody should move. While he gave directive, the intention now is clear
that he was trying to make sure that people do not come out to protect their vote while he went to go and conspire and do what he has to do as against the will of the people. Furthermore, the Nigerian people will continue to challenge the states, continue to challenge the establishment, and ensure that our mandate is being given to the Nigerian people.
Let me just reiterate once again that 2027 will definitely not be like 2026, what we've seen in Abuja today. The Nigerians are ready. Our obedient movement itself is also ready to ensure that every of our mandate, every vote is safeguarded.
The House of Representatives Committee on Polytechnics and Other Higher Technical Education has expressed displeasure over the non-appearance of 12 rectors invited to defend their proposed 2026 budget, describing the act as disappointing and unacceptable. Chairman of the committee, Fuad Laguda, while presiding over the session, faulted the absence, saying that out of 14 rectors of federal polytechnics invited, only 2 showed up to defend their proposed expenditure. He warned that failure to honor House invitation undermines seriousness of governance and adjourned till a later date.
Deputy Chairman, honorable members, clerk and admin, I represent the people of Surulere 1, Lagos State. We should do that. No, I said techniques. Are you coming on this side? Motion Technique Odo, Enugu State. Not did you receive a letter of authority from?
And then the audacity for just 2 rectors to show up out of 14. And I wonder what the excuse is. What justifiable excuse would you have not to show up when the House of Representatives summons you? Maybe they missed their flight. Maybe they had malaria. Who knows? But I guess it's been adjourned to a further date. And it's always, I mean, for transparency and record-keeping purposes, it's always important to show up when you're needed to defend what you claim you will do with such funds. If the funds are not released now, we'll be hearing another story. Yeah. But I guess it is like in the words of Olive and her friends, it is what it is.
Is that Olive's word? Or?
Oh, you've not hung out with Olive and her friends?
No.
I'm talking of our friends back in Ogwashuku. Yeah.
But then again, if they didn't show up, well, I'm happy they've adjourned it. Let's see what will happen. But
then the 2 that showed up that spent money flying to Abuja, they will have to show up again.
Yes.
Oh, no, they don't. They've defended their budget. Or maybe they exercise. I don't know if they were able to defend their budget. Or they will have to wait for the others.
Doesn't look good. But if you just tuned in, this is Breakfast Central. We'll go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll bring to you breakfast headlines. Plus, the front pages are steaming with very interesting stories. So do well to stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hello, welcome to Breakfast Headlines. I am Benga Borowa. We'll begin with national security matters as President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has called for greater unity, compassion and inclusive development across Nigeria, urging state governors to intensify efforts towards supporting vulnerable citizens. The president made the call while hosting state governors to an interfaith break-in of the fast meeting as Muslims observe Ramadan and Christians mark the Lenten season. He announced plans to establish state police to tackle insecurity and strengthen protection for citizens, noting that the initiative is aimed at empowering states while reinforcing national unity.
Out of the woods, we are out of the dark tunnel of uncertainty. The economy is showing up. Let's help those unemployed. What I promise you is not to be postponed. We will establish state police to combat the insecurity.
Usually often that the Muslim fasting and Christian fasting coincides at a time I think we had one 33 years ago. This convergence is a special situation created by God to remind us, we Christians and Muslims, not to allow religious and ethnic differences to guide our thoughts and our political activities.
Away from that, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has condemned the low voter turnout in Saturday's FCT area council elections, describing it as a threat to democracy. Atiku Abubakar highlighted the shocking 7.8% turnout in Abuja Municipal Area Council, with the overall average below 20%, calling it a verdict on the current administration. He accused the Bola Ahmed Tinubu-led government of shrinking democratic space through intimidation and harassment of opposition voices, describing it as a chokehold suffocating the republic. Atiku warned of irreversible damage if unchecked and urged opposition parties to unite to safeguard Nigeria's democracy. The Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria, FAN, says the nation's airspace remains temporarily closed following a fire incident at Terminal 1 at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Lagos. In an update issued on Monday, the authority said the temporary closure was taken in line with established safety protocols to protect passengers, staff and airport infrastructure. FAN confirmed that 6 casualties, 3 males and 3 females, were recorded during the fire incident. All affected persons are said to be in stable condition, while 1 individual has been moved to the FAN headquarters hospital for further medical evaluation. As a precautionary measure, the 6th floor of the affected terminal has been completely evacuated to aid emergency operations and reduce risk. Preliminary findings from the fire service indicated the blaze originated from the server room on the 1st floor. FAN says the emergency procedures were immediately activated and further update will be provided. The governor of Ondo State, Lucky Aiyedatiwa, says his administration is prioritizing the rehabilitation of critical road networks across the state to reduce travel time and curb frequent road crashes. The governor made this known while during a fireside chat with Kade Akitemi, managing director of News Central, at the Ondo Investment Summit 2026 held on Monday in Akure. Governor Aiyedatiwa noted that improved road infrastructure will not only enhance safety but also support growing investments in key sectors of the state's economy.
You have the intention of impacting lives, and what will be the top 2 things that you think will change the lives of the people of Ondo State?
Thank you so much. See, if you want to impact lives of people, it can't just be 2 things, because
maybe 3.
Because for one to be fully impacted, one have to be impacted in so many ways, because every sector in the economy or in the state is very, very important. And just zeroing in on your experience when you were coming to the state, you have to come by road, and the road infrastructure is very, very important for everyone, because all of us, we move from one location to the other. So road infrastructure is very, very important for students, for market women, for industries, logistics generally, very, very important. And we have to build roads, and that is what you have seen happening from the road that have been awarded by federal government, the one you pass through, the dualization of Ore down to Ondo, down to Akure. And the other side of the road, which we have awarded, is the dualization of the same road from Okitipupa to Igbokoda, which is the first phase. And we have the intention of also awarding the Okitipupa to Ore, because we believe that the existing road, they are so narrow compared to what we're expecting, the kind of traffic that will be coming into that corridor from Akure down to the south. And that is why we are taking proactive measure by building infrastructure and waiting for the industry that will be springing up.
Without move outside the shores of Nigeria, we turn to developments on the border between the Democratic Republic of Congo and Burundi, where traffic has resumed at the Kavimira crossing in Uvira. The frontier has been closed for more than 2 months following an offensive by Rwanda-backed M23 armed groups. Authorities have now reopened the border, restoring a vital link for trade and travel between the two countries. Local residents say the reopening is a major relief. Vincent Moricho, a resident of Gatumba in Burundi, says the border is crucial for small business activities, with many relying on cross-border trade for their livelihoods. The reopening comes as authorities continue efforts to stabilize the region and ensure security along this key trade route.
Hii mpaka ni mpaka wa maana sana, mpaka wa maana kwa sababu kama sisi wakazi wa Katumba wazalendo tunafanya biashara vidogo vidogo, kuchuuza, walimaji, wavuvi, hata wengineo wanafanyia kazi Kongo. Leo ni furaha mno, hata kijiji chote Katumba ni furaha mno.
Furahi kwa kufungula frontiere, tunashasumbuka baba. Tuliibiwa, tulinyang'anyiwa, tuliibiwa. Hivi mimi motongo balibeba. Ndio sasa watoto. Tunashukuru watoto kurudia kutoka Burundi wanarudia karibu na wazazi. Tulikuja kwa fraud, tunaenda pita pembeni, tuone kama tunaweza fika kwa nyumba yetu. Sasa kitu tunashukuru.
Prominent Tunisian lawyer Ahmed Swab has been released after completing a 10-month prison sentence handed down by an anti-terror court. He was detained in April last year following remarks he made criticizing a mass trial involving public figures. Swab, a former judge and rights advocate, had served on the defense team in the case. He was arrested after alleging that members of the judiciary faced political pressure to impose heavy sentences on critics of President Kais Saied. An appeal court reduced his initial sentence to 10 months. He left prison in Tabura, west of Tunis, where family members welcomed him. And that's all on the news at this hour. Breakfast Central continues shortly. I am Benga Aborowa.
Welcome back. Breakfast Central it is. The front pages of the newspapers definitely is what we are handling next. We do have our guests in the house. We have publisher of the niche newspaper, Mr. Ikechukwu Amechi, joins us this morning. Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning, welcome, Mr. Amechi. I have to say that, I don't know if I've said it before, you're one of my favorite analysts, and I've never told any other analyst this. But I just want to refresh your memory to tell you that you are my favorite analyst.
Mr. Amechi knows that you are a liar.
Only we tell you that's a lie.
A liar and you have no truth in me. I don't tell lies. That's the one thing you must know. All right, thank you so much for joining us.
Let's go straight to the papers. We have a lot to talk about. Let's start with this Nigeria. That will be our very first paper for today, this morning. Executive Order 9, the fight is against impunity in oil industry, not PIA. NAPTIP warns Nigerians against fake overseas job offers, and I think that's very key. We've seen recent issues, videos popping up.
$5,000 a month, then you end up in the front lines in Ukraine.
Exactly, exactly. Then you end up dying. And then the other one, $2,500 in a month, and then you end up being a call girl somewhere, somehow
that's
in the country. Yeah. Federal government justifies action amid misgivings. Stakeholders fear anarchy over constitutional breaches. That's concerning the Executive Order 9. But let's take this one. El-Rufai sues ICPC, alleges unlawful raids, demands 1 billion naira in damages. Let me start off with our very first story, Mr. Ikechukwu Amechi. I'd like you to look into first of all, what's your take? What's your overview of the elections, the FCT, River State, by-elections, and so on? What's your take?
What is there to say? APC swept the polls, according to INEC.
You don't believe?
It's not a question of believing or not believing. You know, what we've always argued is to ensure that the process Look, if the process is credible, for all I care, if Nigerians say they are okay with their situation today and they want to continue with the APC-led government, fine and good. The one in Rivers and that of Kano, I may not have much to say, but in the Federal Capital Territory, the local governments there or the councils there, the jury is still out. And Olive, I think my major problem is not this. It is that there is this perception of motion without movement.
A rocking chair.
Every time we still come back to square one. And what do I mean by that? The usual allegations of alterations on from EC8, whatever it is called, the late arrival of INEC officials, the intimidation. I watched the candidate of ADC in the AMAC yesterday on television, and he was saying that one of his agents was killed.
Yeah.
Wow. Was killed.
Musa Abubakar.
And what was his crime? He insisted that the result, as was reflected in the votes of the people, must be respected. And they killed him. The guy has been buried. And the country has moved on. So you see all these things happening every day. We say we are making progress, yet at the end of the day, we still come back to the same square one. Everybody is now saying they are going to court and all that. And let us even look at the election itself. The minister of the Federal Capital Territory, who sees himself as the Governor General of FCT, announced restriction of movement. Yet, on the day of election, this man was going from one polling booth to the other. In what capacity?
Inspector General.
He is not an INEC official. So why must he be going from one polling booth to the other? We allow all these impunities now to go on. And of course, what people are saying now that he is the master tactician, he's a strategist, he is the political juggernaut. And they are praising him to high heavens. Now, even on the election day, so, okay, what that restriction of movement entailed was that there are people who, okay, I'll give you an example. I vote just across the street, this Otodola estate. That's where my polling booth is. That was because I registered when I was editor of Daily Independent.
Close to work, yeah.
Close to work. Now, I can still come around to vote because
media.
I have my pass as a journalist.
Yeah.
So imagine if I have relocated to the island like Joe. If I become a big boy now, and I now live on the island.
Like Joe and Olive.
How will I vote? And that was many people that work in AMAC, they don't live within the city center.
They don't.
Most of them live in the suburbs. Some even live in Nasarawa State. Now, when you restrict movement, how will they vote?
True.
Of course, they won't
disenfranchise them.
Yet, the man who imposed restriction of movement was there all over the place, which amounted to subtle intimidation. Now, what else will you say? Of course, there has been this issue of vote buying, which was on all fours, as it were. If you talk to them, they will tell you, no, it is every candidate that does it. But you'll be sure that the government that is serious about sanitizing our elections should not go on that blanket excuse of everybody does it. So, how did elections go? So. We are still where we were 3 years ago, still where we were in a Edo election, still, if you are not satisfied, you go to court. And we all know that going to court, for me, is a waste of time. It's a waste of time. So, I don't know how we're going to do it. I don't know what the opposition thinks it will do. But the augury is so stark that, okay, and they said only 15% voter turnout. Of course, some people are saying that it is even an improvement, because in 2022 that it was 9% or so. But how can 15% voter turnout, for crying out loud, be anything to celebrate? To celebrate? And it's going to be worse in 2027. I'm not a prophet of doom, but it's going to be worse in 2027. How? Many people are not prepared now to come out. Many people. And
but the people keep complaining about the state of things. If they don't vote, then they are also part of a problem. Isn't it logical for them to come out, even to vote in protest against their current state? If they don't vote, it means they're enjoying the current state of things.
What if your vote does not count?
Another angle, because they just feel like I'm coming to mark attendance.
Which needs to be corrected.
No.
If Nigerians come out in their high numbers.
Benga, I have been around. I've been around. And not only been around as a citizen voting, I am a political reporter. I was once the political editor of Daily Independent. I have been a political reporter all my life as a journalist. So I know what the issues are. I know that even in 2027, no politician worth his onions in Nigeria cares about the people. The calculation, INEC officials, who is coming, the security, and all that. That is where they spend the bulk of the money, not on the voters. Look, I don't like living a lie. I don't like lying to myself. Unless and until we decide that credible election is the only pathway to a true and real democratic experience, we'll continue deceiving ourselves.
So the newly passed Electoral Amendment Act does not guarantee free and fair elections?
I mean, with the 50, now parties can spend up to 500 million. And then you have the governor of...
electronic transmission, but not real time.
Did it guarantee the one they did in Abuja last Saturday? After that one was supposed to be a test run. If what Dr. Paul Moses said yesterday on television, if it is anything to go by, he said up till that yesterday that all the results are not
On the IRF portal.
On the IRF portal, and that is Abuja. And that is Abuja. 2-3 days after, results have not been posted on the IRF, and you're talking about the collation was still manual. We have instances where the results that were announced, the man who was announced to have scored the highest votes, the numbers that were credited to him were far higher than the total number of registered voters in that. So how do we continue going round and round and round and round in circles and expect that we will be doing the same thing and expect a different result?
How do you respond to people, especially members of the ruling party, who say these are sour grapes? But we'll talk about it when we come back from this break. Do stay with us. Breakfast Central continues shortly. You're welcome back to Breakfast Central. If only people knew what happens behind the scenes when we go on the break. No, I'm just, is this Abuja issue you're still bragging about? Well, you now go to space and become an astronaut. We'll know here. Joe and I will leave the sets for you. Abuja.
I don't know why you are.
I travel to Abuja. But you're welcome back, Mr. Ikechukwu.
I don't recollect for sure this morning.
I mean, I'm looking for the positives to pull out of the Abuja
Nigerian Tribune. Let's go to Nigerian
exercise.
Tribune.
But it seems there are hardly any positives. And, you know, members of the ruling party will say, oh, sour grapes, you're just crying foul. Do better next time. But let's move on to the Nigerian Tribune. And I want us to also repeat that video of the MD of FAN speaking about the inferno, because that happened at the airport in Lagos. For a minute, I thought, wow, I thought Mexican cartels. What's the name of that man again?
El Moncho.
El Moncho.
I thought he was in Lagos, but we're glad there were no casualties and things were fixed. So Lagos airport fire, 6 injured, 14 trapped persons rescued. Inferno started from server room, says FAN. Airspace temporarily closed, airport has reopened. Some flights were diverted to Equatorial Guinea, to Malabo and other places. Can we take a look at the video of the FAN MD before we get Mr. Ikechukwu's reactions?
As you rightfully said, we were also alerted about a fire incident at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, which you can see right behind us. Immediately, the Fire and Rescue Service of the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria, along with all other emergency agencies, actually swung into action. We activated our emergency operating procedures immediately, of course, in line with the Nigerian Civil Aviation regulation, to ensure that we can control the fire. But immediately, I think the first point of contact is to make sure that we can safely, we can save lives and make sure that there were no incidents within the airport. We have safely evacuated everyone from the terminal at this time. We did have a few of our air traffic control members. There were about 12 of them that were left behind because we had about 4 flights that were still landing. Luckily, we were able to coordinate and get them out safely with the help of all of the security agencies that are here with us today. So far, I'm grateful for the effective coordination. We got support from both the federal government and the state government. We have various agencies. So outside of the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria, we have NEMA, LASEMA, we have the Air Force, we have the police, IRS, and a host of other agencies here. But what I can safely say is that we had no casualties. We did have about 6 injuries, of which they're all in stable condition. So far, our operations have been affected for a couple of hours. I can say that about 3 flights were diverted. The British Airways flight was diverted to Abuja, while the Lufthansa flight was diverted to Malabo, as well as Emirates. As of now, we are setting up our emergency operating center is actually active. We have everyone that should be there, along with the AOC and representatives of all of the security and safety agencies. We've also started setting up a remote tower. That remote tower should be up in the next 20 minutes.
So there you have it, Mrs. Kuku, the MD fan, speaking about the incident. Mr. Emechi, what's your take on the federal government's response and the fire service, the coordination and the infrastructure you saw?
I think it was excellent, if you ask me, that we had such a fire incident of such magnitude, and there were no fatalities in the first place. The 12 people that were trapped were rescued. Minor incidents of injuries and taken care of. But the promptness and the way. And look, the MD of FAN, who we just saw now speaking, Mrs. Kuku, seems to be on top
of the situation.
And on top of the game, as it were. So 3 flights diverted, 1 to Abuja, 2 to Malabo, shows that people reacted in real time, and that is why the damage was minimal, and the disruptions did not last forever.
And it didn't also leave room for rumors. Communication was timely, effective. Yeah.
She was there to speak to all the issues, and nobody was left in doubt as to what happened, what steps were taken, and what to look at for going forward. So I give kudos to the management of FAN and all the other agencies, and then of course the firefighters that also mobilized to ensure that everything was brought under control.
Okay. Still on the front page of the Tribune, we will establish state police. Tinubu reaffirms, says Nigeria is out of the woods economically. But I would want you not to take my word for it. I believe we have that video,
we have the video
of the president, so you can establish what he was trying to say exactly.
You know, he was also that statement was also made. I mean, you took it during the news.
Yes.
The president also had mentioned that Nigeria is out of the woods, and then that was after when they broke the fast. But let's take a listen.
The wood. We are out of the dark tunnel of uncertainty. The economy is showing up. Let's help those unemployed. What I promise you is not to be postponed. We will establish state police to combat the insecurity.
Usually often that the Muslim fasting and Christian fasting coincides at a time. I think we had one 33 years ago. This convergence.
All right. Let's get back into the conversation by hearing from Salisu, who's calling from Kano. Good morning, Salisu.
Mr. Amechi, are we out of the woods, or is he referring to Tiger Woods or something else?
The president is campaigning for 2027. He is still in the campaign mode, which he never left, even after being declared the winner of the 2023 election. So at every given opportunity, I think it was last week that I said it here.
Yes.
How come that all we hear, we will, not we have done, which should be, after 3 years, on the eve of the next elections. Because now, by the way, the youth in Kogi State said they have raised 100
million
yes.
for his ticket.
Yes, youth. So the same.
Yeah,
Kogi.
very loving.
So they
very benevolent youth.
That's the second youth. The other ones were from
for no, it was Kogi State, the same Kogi State.
Okay, same Kogi State. They raised
100 million
during the youth
and
gathering.
Yes, and I think that is it should be applauded.
Yeah.
You know, their dedication to the government of the day, that they put 100 million together for his presidential ticket.
They
love their president.
Yeah.
They love their president. But look, now going back to the issue, you see, at every point in time, the president is telling us he's going to declare a state of emergency on insecurity, state police, and all that, and all that. This issue of state police, I thought that had been...
What's delaying it?
Settled. Because this is about the third or the fourth time the president is going to tell us about the issue of state police. This is the president. All the president needs to do. The other day, he signed Executive Order 9.
NMPC.
The other day, he signed into law the electoral reform. Less than 24 hours after the bill was passed.
Without the Attorney General looking at it too.
So what stops the president or the presidency from drafting an executive bill and taking to the National Assembly? And don't forget, this is a National Assembly that changed our national anthem within
less than 48 hours.
So if the president drafts an executive bill today on this issue of state police to get an enabling law, I can assure you this National Assembly will do it in less than 24 hours. So what is stopping him? If he does not want to travel through that route, why can't he issue an executive order like he did with the petroleum
to activate it?
So why are we every time state police we will? I can assure you the promise I made. What is stopping him? When the president says that we are out of the woods, you know, there are two different things: the micro and macro economies. He sits down to say inflation rate has dropped from 30-something% to 15.10.
The Naira is stable.
The Naira is stable or gaining strength.
Against the dollar.
Against the dollar. Our foreign reserves is now at an all-time high, 5 years or 6 years at $40-something billion. But what of the micro level? Is there any Nigerian whose life has changed fundamentally? Is there, look, has the house rent, can people still afford it? Can people who, as civil servants, were able to buy Tokumbo cars 3-4 years ago, can they still do that today? Even when he claims he has doubled the minimum wage from 5,000 naira to 70,000 naira. A bag of cement that was 10,000 naira about 2 months ago is now 11,000 naira or more, depending on where you buy. Is there any honest civil servant that can build a 2-bedroom bungalow today based on his salary?
Impossible,
so, what are we talking about? He spoke, I didn't even understand what he said about unemployment, those who are unemployed, and he veered off. So, what is unemployment reducing? Is it part of the achievements? Look, when we sit down here and mouth what IMF and the World Bank and all that, the the reforms are working. Nigeria is the third largest economy in Africa now. It is the 10th country with the GDP growth in the world. For crying out loud, let us look at the people whose life is better today than it was 3-4 years ago, unless those who are in government. And now I said it here last week, this is a president who told us in September that he met his revenue target, that the federal government met the revenue target in August. Until the Minister of Finance came out to say, look, of the 40 trillion naira, they have been able to do about 10 trillion. Nigerians are cutting Mr. President so much and he's getting away with all this propaganda. It cannot help. You don't run a country on propaganda. You run a country based on the facts, and we removed subsidy, so more money is coming in. But we are still borrowing every day.
Number three rather. The third most borrowing most borrowed.
And you ask yourself, what are we doing with all those funds? The capital budgets of the ministries of the...
They have not been met.
MDAs are not being funded. For crying out loud, a ministry with 200 billion capital budget said it got only about 35 million.
Where is all the money going?
So where is the money going? Why are Nigerians not asking questions? So when the president says we are out of the dark tunnel, you ask yourself, which tunnel? How did you come out of the dark tunnel? When we speak, people say, you don't like Mr. President. How won't I like the president of my country? If Nigeria is working as it should work, all of us will be better for it. If I can comfortably pay the school fees of my children, if I can comfortably pay my rent, if I can use a car for 3-4 years and if there's a need to change, I can afford to get something better. Why wouldn't I want the best for my country? Because if it is good for Nigeria, it will be good for all of us.
True.
So nobody has Mr. President, but the policies he's pursuing, they are not people friendly. And you can't also be telling the people to tighten their belts every day, when those in government are living large. If this poverty is fairly distributed, okay, you can say, okay, this is what the government is doing, and the belt tightening is everywhere. So let us cue into what the government is doing. The government is not tightening its belt. The officials of state are living large, and you can see it. Convoys flying first class, buying private jets, buying yachts, and you are telling the people to
tighten their belts,
enduring, to tighten their belt, that you are out of the dark tunnel. How?
That's why I don't even wear belts anymore. I prefer suspenders.
Okay, let's take some comments from
As we wrap up.
I don't know if we have time to take comments from YouTube because we're already out of time, but let's see if I can quickly squeeze in 1 or 2 comments. Olumide Alade says, no, actually he says, take this seriously as even okay, no. That's not where his comment began. In a country where 10 million naira cannot even bring a 2-bedroom bungalow to the roofing stage, the reality speaks louder than any analysis.
It can't.
Kudos to the guest
foundation
speaker.
and a few things.
Exactly.
And landscaping.
Parasamako says, good morning, wonderful team of News Central. I greet you all especially. You are all amazing. Please, without real-time electronic transmission of results, without consequences for misbehaving, without consequences for mutilation of forms, we are not ready for 2027. No. Can you go to bank and submit mutilated check for withdrawal?
True.
Have a beautiful day, everyone. Very key question.
They will arrest you.
Very key question asked there. Chijoke Nwazurume says, CCTV camera is your security. Even government knows them and spares them, rehabilitates blood-sucking criminals. This is a response to the conversation we had earlier with Onyekachi to talk about insecurity in Nigeria. And final comment I can take, Olumide Alade says, although poor road infrastructure has caused many accidents, we must also address the dangerous habit of tankers, trucks, and bus drivers creating content while driving. Government and the media should take
Oh yes, I
seriously.
saw one of those streamers, 2 phones and driving. I mean, all sorts of rubbish is that. But anyway, thank you so much. I'd like to take this opportunity to wish one of our own, my very good friend, Sylvester Ifeanyi Obieze.
AKA Sly. Sly is one of our directors
wish
here.
you
Happy
a happy
birthday,
birthday.
Sly. We hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Yes, and
All right, thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank
See
you,
tomorrow.
Mr.
Thank you, Mr.
Amechi. Once again, you remain my favorite analyst for now.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.